Oh, this you crazy mother.
Welcome back to the MMA Mad podcast. I am back after a while off. We have put podcasts out there. We've had a few people covering for me. Even Nick's dad covered for me at one point. But I'm back and should be here to stay as well, which is great. We've got two guests on the show, which you'll be happy with. They are two of the best up-and-coming talent in the UK. The first guest on the show joining us is Regis Sugden, and then later on we'll talk to the BAMMA Bantamweight champion Ed Arthur. And then we will recap with Nick Risner, the UFC on Fox card with TJ Dillashaw beat Henan Barao, and we'll look forward to UFC 190. Regis Sugden, he's on the line now with, as you've already heard him come in with a smarmy comment there. Andreas Giorgio from MMA Plus. Hello to you both.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going? Great to be back on the show.
Yeah, it's great to have you back, man. And Regis, thanks for coming on. First question for me really is, how is your preparation going for your fight coming up on BAMMA in Dublin against Alan Philpott? Obviously, he just come off a title fight with Ed Arthur. He did reasonably well. You know, some people believe he won the first round. So how's the prep going for that? What sort of things are you working on?
Yeah, it's going fantastic, really, and I'm just sort of like loving every minute of it, really. I'm kind of jumped a few stages, stepping straight in there to face in my opinion, one of the best guys in the UK. I think at the minute he should be a lot higher in the rankings, so I'm expecting a tough fight, and one of my toughest fights for a bit, really. I think after this fight, I may even get an easier opponent in my next fight. But this is a fight for me that I've been waiting for since I started fighting professional MMA, just to really prove myself. Because I beat a couple of guys, and they're all good guys, but now I'm sort of entering the top 10, top 15 guys, and this will be really when people see how good I actually am.
So you said that you may be expecting an easier fight after this. Are you not expecting something bigger, being that Alan's just come off a title fight?
I mean, it's always going to be something bigger, but I just believe Alan's a very good fighter, and I think it's really going to bring the best out of me. And I'm treating this fight like it's going to be my toughest fight that I've ever had, irrespective of kickboxing or MMA, and I just think he's a top fighter, and I think he's really going to bring out the best in me. Whether we're going to see his full potential on the night, because I'm obviously going to be nullifying that. But it's I mean, obviously his last fight with Ed, it was a good fight, and I think I was one of them people that thought he won the first round, and I think he made a bit of a mistake, and he would definitely kick himself after that one. I think he was on his way to winning that fight. But Ed did a great job, caught him nicely, and that makes great fighters taking great opportunities. So that's what I'm going to be looking to do come September 19th. I'm going to be taking that great opportunity to prove myself to everyone.
Is it fair? Is it fair to say that that you wanted this fight, and it wasn't a fight that BAMMA sort of gave you and you accepted? Was this a fight that you asked for?
Yeah, this was a fight I asked for. This is a fight I wanted. I mean, I wanted to fight for that title. The opponent didn't really matter to me. In truth be known, I wanted that title. I wanted that credibility. Because this title means something at the end of the day. When I win this title, I'm going to be one of the guys that everyone's going to look to be either defending that title or going to move on to, obviously, the BAMMA World title. But this for me is it's a massive opportunity, and I'm going to take it with both arms and prove to everyone on September 19th what I'm all about.
Yeah, I remember Regis after your first victory at BAMMA against Paul Bentley. Even then, I was asking you about the Lonsdale title, and it's always been something that you've said you wanted to aspire to. Knowing that you get a chance to fight for that belt in Dublin, does that make it even more special? Knowing that not only are you fighting for that belt, but you're fighting one of the best fighters in the UK.
Yeah, most definitely. It's like killing two birds with one stone, really, and it's winning that title. It's winning that title on merit and against a very, very, very credible opponent, in my opinion. There's a lot of other lesser guys that might have thought they might have got this shot, and I think really I've got the best of the bunch that was looking at that BAMMA had to offer, and that's what I want. I didn't want an easy fight. I didn't want to just pick up the title and for it not to mean much, but I want to get in that cage and feel like I'm in a fight. I mean, I'm training super hard, so I'm pretty convinced that this fight might even go out the first round, but I want that feeling of that in people's mind. I don't want people just to think this is a certainty. I want people to sort of be looking at this fight and thinking, oh, this really could go either way. And I think that's what it is, so I'll be looking forward to proving I'm the number one on September the 19th.
Do you think that, I mean, this is something that's been discussed quite a bit, and I suppose this is sort of a question for both of you. Do you think that the Lonsdale belt is something that should remain in BAMMA, or do you think it can be confusing to maybe the new fans coming in as to who the champion really is?
No, I think it needs to stay in BAMMA. I think it's a great sort of. I mean, if you're the BAMMA Lonsdale champion, I think it really sort of shows you're the best of the kind of the bunch outside the top 10. I think just at the top of the top 10, just breaking into the top 10. I think that guy should be the guy who's really sort of looking to take that next step up. And I think Alan Philpott's a great step up, and as far as UK MMA goes, he's one of the top guys. But he's not the best guy in my opinion, but he's one of the top. And I think this is a great sort of belt that's not the world title belt, because I think if this was the world title belt I was fighting for, it's fair to say I've only had 3 fights, and obviously 3 wins and 3 emphatic wins, and that's why I'm fighting for the BAMMA Lonsdale title. But I think if that wasn't there, I would still be having to have 3 or 4 more fights before I could really achieve some gold. And I think that gold, where it is, it makes a lot of other fighters that maybe aren't quite sort of a 3-0 and maybe have a couple of wins and a couple of losses. It makes them aspire to something. Because, I mean, even for me now, the BAMMA world title doesn't seem that far away, but I know when I first started, it would have felt a long way away. But I know when I win this, it's going to be a lot closer, and I'll definitely be looking to fight for it. So I just think it's a great platform and a great sort of, if you're above that, if you've won that, that's when you look for the world title. If you're below it, that's what you're looking to aspire to get. And I don't think it's that far away from any other sort of professional fighters that maybe haven't had that many fights or have had a couple of wins, a couple of losses. So I think it's definitely something that BAMMA need to keep, because I think it's just a great belt. Yeah.
Sort of, how deep do you think the division, your division in BAMMA really is? I mean, obviously, as you say, you've only had 3 fights, but they've been great finishes. And I suppose what I'm asking is, how many contenders do you think there are out there before BAMMA starts to say, well, Regis, come on, the fans want to see it. I know you've only had a small amount of fights, but let's step up and let's fight for the world belt.
I think it's deep. I mean, it's like, I've got to be honest, there's a lot of fighters, especially now. Other things have happened in sort of UK MMA, and BAMMA started signing a few more fighters. I think it's going to be really interesting. And I noticed David Mooney's just been added to Carling Island. I mean, it's another top bantamweight. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's a lot of good guys kicking about. And I mean, I don't know what all their intentions are, but I know what my intention is. And if their intention is the same as mine, then I've got to be honest, it makes a very exciting division to come in the next couple of years on BAMMA. There's some top fights, and I mean, when I fight for the world title, I don't know who's going to be the champion. That's our sort of. I couldn't even put 3 names in a hat. There's 4, 5, 6 names that could be that champion by then. I don't know who's going to get the opportunity. I don't know who it's going to be when I fight for it. But there's a lot of guys that it could be, and there's a lot of guys that I would see myself having a good fight against. I mean, I believe in myself, and I genuinely believe that I could beat anyone in the bantamweight division in the UK at this moment in time, without fail, where I'm at now or where I'd be at in 2 years' time. But I think they're all great guys, and there's obviously some that are better than others, but there's at least 10 to 12 guys that could be in sort of the position that Ed Arthur's in right now, and I think he's doing a great job to be there, and that's why I think it means so much, because there's so many great guys, so many top guys doing well at the minute in the UK at bantamweight, and like there is at all the other weights, and I just think this division is slowly becoming like one of the best divisions in BAMMA, if not the best, just because of the depth of fighters, the style of fighters, the range of fighters, and some guys have been kicking about for a long time that are doing really well, and there's some guys that are just breaking through. That are doing really well, and I think that's what makes it such an exciting division. But yeah, go on, mate.
Well, in terms of Philpott, what do you see in him? You're known obviously for being a kickboxer, a great kickboxer. But what do you see? Do you see holes in his game? Do you think your striking is going to be too much for him? I was having this conversation with a coach at a K1 gym at an ISKA show recently, and he believes that a lot of these guys, these kickboxers, are just used to, they're such high level striking that when they go into MMA and fight guys who essentially haven't been fighting at that sort of high level, that they have an extreme advantage. Do you tend to agree with that statement?
I do agree with that statement to a degree, only because I think it's great having great stand-up and going into MMA, but the level I'm stepping into now, as great as my stand-up is and as great as my stand-up was in K1, I believe that you have to have a better all-round game. You can't just be sort of a one-trick pony. I mean, being fair to sort of the MMA community, I believe if the top striker comes into MMA, they're probably easily going to go, if they're fighting, I mean, it depends what level they're fighting. I mean, I came straight into BAMMA, so my game had to be pretty on point from the start, but if you was just a general sort of UK MMA fighter and you was a top stand-up guy and you came into MMA and you just fought on any shows and like sort of the normal path really, I think you could easily go 4-5-0 before you actually been tested on the ground. And I think, I mean, yeah, it's great having a great stand-up fighter, but there isn't actually that many fighters nowadays that are at the top of their game that are just great stand-up fighters. I mean, there is great stand-up fighters, but they're also good wrestlers and great BJJ practitioners. They're not just great strikers, and it gets you so far, but it don't get you all the way. Obviously, it's helped me a lot in my first 3 fights, but also in them first 3 fights, I've also had a submission win. So I like to think that my game's very all-rounded. As an amateur, I was very much stand-up orientated. I didn't have that much sort of going on the ground, but that's what I used my amateur career for, to learn the ground game and to learn the wrestling side of things. And I believe that now I've turned professional, I've got a good all-round game. I mean, it's not as good as I want it to be, but I want perfection all the time. That's what I am. I'm a perfectionist. I think my stand-up game's pretty much about there, but I've still got improvements to do on that, and I've still got improvements to do on my wrestling and my BJJ side, but everything's improving all the time. And if I didn't think it was good enough, I wouldn't be fighting the guys I'm fighting. I wouldn't have took this fight. I'd have fought a few other fights first. But I truly believe it's as good to match anyone's in the bantamweight division. It's not good enough to hold my own, at least. So,
you know, you've only been professional for about 8 months now, and to see the progression you've made, you know, against these fighters, and now to be fighting for a Lonsdale belt, it really does show the kind of level of progression. You know, as you said, only 8 months into the game professionally. Does that really show that, you know, Regis Sugden is serious about this game, and that, you know, you're already evolving to levels to fight with the top guys such as Philpott and Ed Arthur?
Yeah, I mean, I just think I've kind of just took to it with both hands for the past sort of year and a half, 2 years. I've been training with sort of Jimmy and down at Urban Kings in London, and I trained with Victor Steamer, a few other people sort of like over the years to get sort of where I wanted to get. And I mean, I'm a quick learner, but I've always wanted to make sure I do things properly, and that's why. I mean, there's been a lot going on behind the scenes, as well as me just having the first 3 pro MMA fights. I've been doing so much hours. I've been doing the travelling hours that you need to do. I've been doing the sparring. Getting so many good rounds. I've been rolling with people like Brad Pickett and talking to him and learning things off him, and a few other people as well. I mean, I've hit it so hard And I've been fortunate enough to get the opportunities, and I've took them opportunities. I mean, I love the stage. I love the BAMMA stage. I think if I'd have had to a couple of fights on a lower promotion than BAMMA, which is pretty much every other promotion in the UK, I think my performance wouldn't have been as emphatic and as good. Because the big stage brings out the best of me. It always has done, and I think it always will do. And this fight really is going to bring the absolute best out of me. I mean, waiting until later on in the card to fight, getting all the sort of feelings of the fighters coming into change rooms. I love all that. I love that, and then I love fighting myself and just doing the business. Yeah, I mean, it is a bit surreal that 8 months ago I was sort of getting ready for my BAMMA debut, and I got a bonus. Back then I was sort of like, I was a bit nervous throughout the whole first round, and then second round I sort of settled down. But every single minute and second in the BAMMA cage after that, I've just been as cool and as composed as I could be. And done the business, and I think my composure is sort of what's making me a lot more devastating than the typical sort of guy that comes in from another background, because I'm just staying as relaxed as I can, and I know whatever they're going to throw at me, I can give back to them twice as hard and twice as fast, and that's how I feel at the minute. I just feel unstoppable, and that's my mentality and always will be, and everyone tells me that all the time, and I reap the benefits of sparring. I spar with some top guys, people like Tim Wilder, Andre Winner, obviously Jimmy, and all them, as you know. And there's just, I'm getting the confidence from the training, and I'm getting pushed and pushed hard, and I'm training with some of the top guys, and I just really sort of believe in myself at the minute, and I've got no doubt that he can throw anything at me that's ever going to faze me or harm me in any way. And when I get to that point, I'll go and do some sparring with someone that's better, because that's the way I work, and I know if I do that, I'll keep on progressing, keep on winning, and never lose.
You've literally just turned 20. Happy birthday, by the way. Showing the levels, at the way you talk and the way you talk about evolution in MMA at the age of 20. Do you think that's something that's really giving you an advantage? In BAMMA at such a young age, yet getting all that experience under your belt, and do you think that that's giving you the edge that you need to push your career towards the heights of the UFC as well?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, it normally takes a lot of punches to the head and a lot of kicks and being beat a few times for people to realise what MMA and martial arts is truly about and winning. But for me, it's always been the same. I've always fought the same. I've always ran everything through my head in the same way. And that's to win, win, win. And as long as you've got that in your head, and I know it's important to switch though. Like, people get this obsession with train hard, fight easy. It don't work like that. I mean, I've done so many more technical sessions. Sort of, my week consists 80% technical, 20% physical. Because the technical brings out the physical side. Because if you can do things over and over again, correctly, that then brings the fitness. And people get this mistake where they're thinking about just smashing themselves in the gym, getting in good shape, and that does it all. And I know I'm in good shape, but I'm not in good shape because I'm a beast at weights or a beast in the gym, or everyone sees me smashing out the bench press. I'm a beast because I just drill the techniques over and over again. I learn something new and I practice it. I practice it with someone that might not even want to practice it, but I tell them, listen, I have to practice this. So if I don't practice this now, so I'll forget it by next week. And I'll make sure that every week I learn something new. I learn 2 things new. I learn 3 things new. And most things I learn, I sort of write down. I take in a book, and I think that's why I'm progressing so quickly. And I really understand the importance of that. Because you can't stand still for a minute. It's just showing how many guys are sort of pulling through. I mean, I've just pulled through myself, but there's so many other guys that are coming through now, and you can't stand still. Because if you stand still, you're going to get overtook. And that's the way it works. Life's just like one big long running race. Unless you stay at the front, you're just going to end up second, third, and before you know it, you're last. And I don't want to be in that position. So I know what I have to do is keep learning, keep developing, and keep doing what I'm doing. And I'll stay first for as long as I want to stay first.
Sure. We're running out of time a little bit here, Regis, but first, just quickly, could you tell me how excited you are to fight in front of the Irish fans who have proved themselves to be amongst the pound-for-pound best?
Oh, I'm so buzzing for it. I mean, it's going to be amazing. I mean, I've got quite a few connections in Ireland. No family, but just people that I've trained with, fought a few times in Dublin. And I really genuinely sort of like believe myself, and I think I'm going to get strong back in when I get out there. I think I sold like 40 tickets just to guys in Ireland alone. So I think it should be good when we get out there. I can't wait. And I know the Irish love a good fighter, and I hope we can bring it to them. And they love people getting punched in the face, and I'm going to be doing that. Guaranteed, September 19th.
Fantastic. We'll look forward to it. Can you just give us the prediction? How is this fight going to finish? In which round?
I'm going to give him 2 rounds because I like him. But we'll see. I mean, the fight could end at any minute. I know he's obviously a good fighter as well, but I didn't see him finishing this fight in many different ways. I don't necessarily just be a knockout. So I'm predicting first or second round. This definitely going the distance. I have trained for the distance, but I'm training to stop him. I'm training for the excitement. I want people really to believe the hype. I don't want people just to think, oh, he's just won him. I want him to get absolutely smashed, and that's what's going to happen.
Well, Regis, thank you very much for your time. I will be there in Dublin to see it live, and I cannot wait. Thank you very much, Regis.
Cheers. Thank you very much, mate.
See you.
Cheers, Regis.
Thank you.
Cheers. Nice one, lads.
Moving on with the show, next guest is BAMMA Bantamweight champion Ed Arthur. He joins us now. Ed, thank you very much for coming on the show. I know you've been busy today. I see on your Facebook all the time you're doing a lot of private sessions and teachings, etc. Obviously, I first really want to ask you, you're at the stage where you're fighting for a UK promotion. Obviously, the money's not good enough to keep you just training full time. So how is it trying to earn a sort of living around your own training?
First of all, man, thanks for having me. Money-wise, I don't know, I've learnt a really good skill whilst training over time, being good at being poor. You know what I mean? So, you've got to do this game because you love it. I mean, I feel like it's like the test before you get to the big leagues to make big money. You know what I mean? Like, do you really want this? You got to be poor first before you can be rich. So I'm thinking of it as like a little mini test. You know what I mean? Be good with it now, and then when later on when you make it big time, make loads of money, it'll just be it'll be no big deal. You know what I mean? You'll still be loving what you do.
Sure, but you still get time to suitably train yourself around that, or do you think it will get better once the money starts rolling in? You can just focus on you.
Well, to be fair, I could probably train more people. I've got people that wanted to do other sessions, but I'm limiting it so it doesn't affect my training because obviously my training is the priority. So I've been training people, loving it, and to be honest, training people to me is like is another form of training in itself. Because, you know, I learn something new, get taught it, and what do? I go straight on to the next person that I'm training the next day or the day after, and I show them that technique so it stays into my head. So, to be honest, since I've been coaching people, you know, it's not like a burden on top of my training, it's a plus side on top of my training. It's something that's helping my training as well.
Sure. Well, I just want to firstly take a look back at your world title victory, which I'm sure you won't mind me doing.
No worries.
It was against Alan Philpott. Now, the first round, as media, some of the media actually scored that to Philpott. Did you?
So did I.
Right. Did he surprise you at all with anything in that first round?
He didn't necessarily surprise him. He didn't surprise me. The way I performed a little bit surprised me. I was a little bit too eager to throw the punches, a little bit reckless abandonment, so I was just sort of throwing punches my feet weren't following, so my feet were just following instead of me planting my feet a little bit, moving and then looking for the shots. So he was quite easy for him to move out the way and throw the punches. But to be honest, I thought, you know, the punches were going to be a little bit harder, and I wasn't feeling nothing at all in that fight. So I think it's just, you know, where I was just so confident and relaxed, it almost, well, relaxed is maybe not the right word. I was just so confident. I was just steamrolling straight forward, thinking, I'm just going to crush this guy. I wasn't thinking left, right, moving back, you know, counters. I was just thinking, boom, straight forward. And I think that paid a little bit against me. So that's why I come out in that second round, I'm trying to be a little bit more relaxed. And then, you know what I mean? It's only my 6th pro fight. That's one thing I want to, you know, I'm trying to say as well. It's only my 6th pro fight. I'm still learning how it feels to be on these big fights. So I think, you know, over the next few fights, I'll just keep getting more and more comfortable in that, you know, that big spot and that big scene.
Sure, yeah, you talk about the confidence there. That's certainly something that stuck in my head. I remember being backstage at that show, doing an interview with a fighter, and then you would walk past, the fighters would walk past the media to get to the arena, and I remember you, I don't know if this is something you remember, it might have something you said in the heat of the moment, I just remember you walking saying, I'm going to make this look easy, and I just thought that was certainly a lot of confidence going into a world title fight, as I say, only on your 6th pro fight.
Mate, I feel great on all of them fights. All of these big fights, it's supposed to feel bigger. Ever since I think it was my first pro fight, no, my first semi-pro fight, sorry, I came out and I remember just almost saying to myself, am I supposed to be feeling this calm? Am I supposed to be feeling this relaxed? It's because I've always had the mindset you wouldn't see a football player on a Sunday league on a Sunday morning on the side of the pitch terrified to get onto the pitch. So why am I going to be terrified to get into the cage? Because to me, it's no different. It should just be, I've been training, having fun in training the whole time. I'm confident that I'm training the right way. So when it comes fight time, I'm out there having fun. Believe it, when it's fight time, I'm not thinking, oh no, what's going to happen, what's not going to happen. I'm just going in there free, having fun, relaxed, and I'm getting better each time. I'm getting better at it every fight.
Absolutely. On the card, there's a card coming up in Dublin on the 19th of September. Alan's fighting on that card against a guy we've had on the show today, Regis Sugden.
Yeah.
I'd like to get your opinion on that fight. How do you think it will play out? What do you think the guy's strengths and weaknesses are?
I think that's a really good fight. It's definitely one I'm going to be watching, not because I think I'm going to fight everyone, just as a fan of the sport. I think that's a good fight to watch. My instincts tell me that Philpott is going to be too experienced to... he just fought me on another arguably a bigger card, maybe the same level of card. So, it was a lot of people watching that type of card, and he was calm in the moment. Regis has fought easier fights, I would say, at this level. So it's just, if I can see what he's like in the fight, I'll judge it. I wouldn't really have my answer until after the first round. I want to see what he's like dealing when he sort of, big fight for the title, more people looking at him. If he's under deep waters, how does he deal with them situations? And that's what I want to see. But my instinct's telling me Philpott, but it could go either way. I'm only just edging towards Philpott.
Who would you? Obviously, you fought Philpott. How do you think you would match up against Regis? Because it's a fight that definitely could happen. Maybe not next.
Definitely.
Maybe not next, but certainly I think if he won the belt and then defended it, I think that the fans will be wanting that fight. How do you think that fight would play out?
How do I think it would play out? I think I would sub him the first chance I wanted to, if I'm honest. Stand up wise, I would come at him, come forward, hands up, chin down, and I would come at him and put the pressure on. And I know it's different when you're in there with me. I can feel it. Guys look at it like it's nothing. When they're in there, I can feel them feeling the pressure that I put on them from the beginning. I wouldn't let somebody like that get relaxed. To be honest, I think I would win that fight the way I would win it against Philpott. You know what I mean? I would be cut first round. You know what I mean? I put the pressure on. I'll be better at it by that fight. And get adjustments once I've worked out what's going on. Second round, you can't make a mistake against me, whether that be standing up or the ground. I'll finish it. And I know that's what would happen in that fight.
Sure.
But we'll see what happens, you know what I mean? He could get better in certain areas, I can get better in certain areas. Wait and see what happens.
Sure. I mean, I asked Regis this question as well, and I think it's a quite interesting one. How deep do you think the bantamweight division is in BAMMA? Because I want to sort of address a rumour, and I have to say it is just a rumour at this point, but there's a rumour going around that BAMMA might be scrapping the flyweight division. If that happened, do you think that would be a good thing for the bantamweight division, make it more deep, or do you think it's deep enough as it is and they should keep the flyweight division?
That's a good question. I'm not really sure, to be honest. In my head, if there's not enough people in the flyweight division, build it up, let it take its time. But maybe the other reason I can think of maybe they might be getting rid of it is because, like in the UFC, it hasn't even got that much exposure to the flyweight division. People sort of overlook it a little bit. So maybe they're thinking, do we want to spend a lot of time building up a division that people are overlooking? I'm not too sure. BAMMA seem to know what they're doing. All these fight cards they've been putting out have been great. It felt like when I first came to BAMMA, there was only like a handful of bantamweights. Now there's like a whole load. So there's always somebody somewhere that wants to fight. So I would say stick with the flyweights. They put on great fights. You know what I mean? And stick with it. Let it build up. Give it time.
Do you think it will be harder for them to build up that division now, especially with Cage Warriors coming back?
Like I say, there's always someone out there that wants to fight. There's always someone. There's probably a few guys maybe in the bantamweight division now that are thinking about maybe going down to flyweight, things like that. Maybe a few guys come up, come down. Things always change about. Like I say, there's always somebody there. When you put a fight out there saying, we've got these guys, they need fights, someone always ends up turning up. So I think if you gave it a chance, it would build up. I don't think Not sure if it would affect the bantamweight division or not. You know what I mean? It might make a couple of people might go down. If they do, they probably belong there anyway. You know what I mean? Because I know I can't make 125.
Sure, and I'm sure I read something on Facebook or something, but that you was maybe expecting to be on this card, and then it was a slight surprise that you wasn't. Was it a surprise that you wasn't added to this card?
Yeah, it was a surprise. I was a bit gutted just because it's a historic event for BAMMA. They just keep banging out these massive cards. And the first one in Ireland, I wanted to be part of it. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be this time. Hopefully they've got other good plans for me, so I'm waiting to find out about that, to be honest. There's some big things being talked about for me for my next fight, and I think it'll make up for it. But I would definitely wanted a piece of that Ireland card. Do you know what I mean? That main event between Tom and Brendan. I'm a friend of Brendan's. I know him quite well. I've met Tom in the past. That's one hell of a fight. I wanted to just be there to watch it. I've never been to Ireland before. That's one hell of a fight. I'm going with Brendan for the win, but it's going to be one hell of a fight, and I can't wait to see it. I'm ashamed I'm going to be watching it, on my telly. I wish I could be watching it live and in person.
You won't be there, no?
No, I won't be there, unfortunately.
Sure. Well, we should get on to BAMMA to fly you out for sure.
Mate, if no one's asked me yet, but to be fair, I probably should ask. You know what I mean? I won the belt now. I'm a champ. Hopefully they can fly me over and do something, but... to be honest, I hadn't even thought about it. I'll ask. If you don't ask, you don't
That's
get.
It, man. The flights go for a tube is like £36. I'm sure BAMMA can put their hand in their pocket. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Give me a hotel for the night. Because I've never even been to Ireland before. You know what I mean? With all the buzz in Ireland at the moment with, say, Conor McGregor, all these other guys, it's getting such a buzz out there that they love an MMA fighters out there. I want to be around all that.
Do you think it will be as? I went to the UFC card in Dublin that Conor McGregor fought on, and it was just deafening. Do you think that the fans will come out in such force for this BAMMA card? I mean, I don't really know how ticket sales are going. I know Regis has said he's sold a fair few tickets, but do you think it will be a similar sort of atmosphere to what we experienced with the UFC?
Well, I don't think it's going to be the same level of atmosphere there. I think once the fights get going, the atmosphere will go up. You know what I mean? Like on that Irish card on the UFC Dublin, that was. The atmosphere was probably going crazy in the queue and in the way in. I think once a few fights get going, they realise that these fighters are just on the same level as, if not ready to go to the UFC. They're putting on top quality fights. I think once it gets going, one or two fights, the atmosphere will just build up. And by the time it comes to the main event, or, even just by Chris Fields, for example, he's probably going to have quite a big following, I would say, when he's out there. You know what I mean? And then when it gets to the main event, I think it's just the atmosphere will just build up. Because it's, you've been seeing these BAMMA cards that they've been putting out at the moment. There's been fight after fight. That's been, you've been looking at it thinking, that's worthy of main event. And it's like the fourth fight on the main card and things like that. Like, I think once it gets going in Ireland, it'll build up. And the atmosphere will just pick, on the night, it'll just build up and the atmosphere will get better and better.
Absolutely. I think, as you're right.
That's my guess.
Yeah, well, I think Chris Fields will be. He's certainly going to bring, because people follow that SBG camp, and I think Chris Fields.
They've got their buzz now.
Absolutely. But in terms of who you actually do, as you say they've got big plans for you. In terms of who you would like to fight next, we're looking at Shea Walsh. He's come off a TKO win at BAMMA 21. Are you looking at him as someone? Are you looking at him as the guy who's next for you? Do you think that's going to happen?
Definitely, I put the name out there saying that I want to fight him. I've heard people say that he's the best guy, one of the best guys in the country at this weight class in BAMMA. I can't be the champ if people don't think I'm the best guy in the division. So obviously, me being me, straight up, want to let everyone know that I'm a proper fighter and I'm here to fight anyone. So I was just like, put it straight out there. I'm ready to fight him. He wants to fight me. So hopefully they can make that fight happen. I don't see why not.
Sure, he's ranked higher than you at the moment. Now I know sort of rankings, it's one of them. But do you find it sort of odd that you're the champion yet Shea Walsh is ranked higher?
To be honest, no, I don't find it that odd. He's had more fights than me. He was ranked quite high in the weight class in featherweight division. To be honest, like you say, rankings are rankings. I don't really care. To be honest, I think I can beat any of these guys if I was putting them with them. When I had my first pro fight, and I was nowhere near as good as I am now, in my head I was like, I'll beat all of these guys. So that's just my mentality. I've been thinking the whole time that put me in there with any of them and I'll win. So I don't care if he's ranked above me, below. Well, to be honest, I don't want no one below me. I want to be just taking up these names. Anyone that's ranked above me, I want to be taking them names and building my way up to the top before I get to the UFC. I want to be number one. I want people to know. I want no argument about it. I want people to be like, number one bantamweight, boom, Ed Arthur's the one we're going to. So if Shea Walsh is going to get me a little bit further up there, he's next to got to be.
Would you so it's important, do you think, for the real top contenders that are coming out of the UK to fight each other? Now, the reason I say, you might think that's odd for me to say that, but the reason I say it is because you've got, for example, yourself, extreme talent. You've got Regis Sugden. If Regis fought you, obviously one of you is going to lose. So do you feel that's a sort of bad thing that these real top contenders coming out of the UK could potentially have a loss and affect their chances of getting into the UFC as quick?
If I'm honest, I don't care what these other guys are doing. You know what I mean? As long as I'm winning and I'm getting better, that's all I'm thinking about. I'm just thinking straight tunnel vision all the way to the UFC, and whoever I got to beat, I got to beat. If they're gonna, I think that's what it's about. You know what I mean? On these sort of big shows, you want to be signed to BAMMA, you're going to be facing guys who are better than you, same level as you. You know what I mean? We're all trying to get to the same direction. So unfortunately, someone's got to come second. You know what I mean? So all I'm thinking about is being number one.
Sure. And the belt, as the belt took pride place in the Arthur home.
Well, they won't let me take it home until I defend it one more time.
Well, I've got to tell you something.
They're keeping it safe for me. You know what I mean? I need to beat somebody up one more time, and then they let me take it home.
Well, the BAMMA middleweight champion Chet Coney, I'm sure you've seen his work. I believe he actually took the belt with him and they were too scared to ask for it back. So that might be something you want to try.
Yeah, they just come over and just took it off my shoulder. So, yeah, I mean, that's cool. You know what I mean? Once I do win it, I'll take it to Mr. Amasinger's house and he can put it in the gym or in his house. I don't mind. You know what I mean? It's my present to him.
Right.
Hard work that he's put into me. So,
do you owe a lot to Dean Amasinger?
Massive amount. The guys that are around me, you know what I mean? I started with Denison Sutherland. He made me the person I am, and then I met Dean, and it just skyrocketed off to another limit. You know what I mean? More than what I ever thought it would be. So I've just been grateful every single day training with him, taking up any bit of knowledge that I can off of him. Because I tell you what, our team under Dean is just going to build up. And in a few years' time, he's going to be cornering UFC guys left, right, and centre. I know, me being one of them. And
himself, he came back with to MMA with a great win at Magto as well.
Seriously motivating, man.
Yeah.
He's a beast. And to be honest, I think you only saw about 30-40% of Dean in that fight. When he's completely comfortable, second fight, most likely this next fight, or even the fight after that, he's world-class level, no doubt. If he wanted to make a serious run in the UFC, I think he could have as well. It's all about what he wants to do. If he wants to have one or two fights, he'll win them, no problem. If he wants to get to the UFC, he can do that too. You know what I mean?
Sure,
but it's not just Dean as well. I've got a couple of other guys close to me as well, like my friend Cornell has been teaching me my jiu-jitsu, because in my Nathaniel Wood fight, I remember I got caught in a triangle, and then I just got militant after that. I started getting my defence down, my attacks as well. Now I can submit people from all different angles, and I swear to God, I won't get submitted by any of these guys. Well, so I've been on it ever since that day. And I've got a solid team of people. Before it was just turn up to the gym, smack a few pads, spar, things like that. Now I've got my Jack McClinnery, my strength and conditioning coach. I've got Cornell, my jiu-jitsu. I'm learning wrestling with different people, and I've got Dean as my head coach. I still see Max for different things. Like if I want something, there's guys around me that are willing to help. So it's a perfect combination.
For sure, yeah. Just talking now about you went on a holiday recently to Thailand. First of all, what were your plans with that? Did you go with your girlfriend?
Yeah, me and my girlfriend went. It was meant for just to be a holiday. I got a little bit of training here and there. I can't turn the obsession off very often. You know what I mean? So, and I haven't been on a holiday since I first started MMA about 5.5 years ago. About a year in, Max told me, he was like, honestly, I think you can be in the UFC. And ever since then, I've just been on it every single day, just non-stop thinking about it. I've barely taken a weekend off, let alone a holiday. So once I won that title, I told myself, I was like, I'm booking a holiday. And we just done it. We just booked it. 5 weeks later, we were off. I needed to be away from everything, because for me, it's not, I don't just turn up to the gym, do a bit of training, go home and forget about it. All I do is this. If I'm not doing it, I'm thinking it. If I'm not thinking it, I'm watching something on it. I'm always involved. So I needed to go somewhere completely out of the way, shut myself off and have that rest.
Was it Phuket?
Phuket, yeah, I was at, yeah. I stayed at a place called Fight Lab Villas. Really good, really good. Right near all the different gyms and stuff like that. It was great fun, man.
So that's was it where other would you find it was where other fighters were staying, or was it sort of mixed with fighters and people?
Yeah, when I was there for about 5 days, and Mark Hunt turned up.
Yeah, because he's training at AKA with Mike Swift.
Yeah, that's just down the road from that Fight Lab Villa. So I was there. Mark Hunt turns up. Soa turns up. Soa the Hulk, who's fighting Antonio Silva. You know what I mean? Like, I'm 6-0 as a pro fighter. I got a legend like Mark Hunt walking in. My jaw was down by the floor. You know what I mean? I was like, what the hell? And they had Olympic wrestlers, like 2-time gold medalists, helping there with them. It was insane. You know what I mean? Paul Daly's been out there. It's a great atmosphere. You know what I mean? I wouldn't go there myself, Thailand, to do a full MMA training. But if you know what I mean,
why is that?
It's too focused around Thai boxing. Them days where you go to a Thai boxing gym, you go to a jiu-jitsu gym, you go to a wrestling place, you do a bit of boxing there. I think them days are over. You know what I mean? It's about MMA as one movement, and that's what we're doing there with Dean now. It's not, you know what I mean? I don't go to all these different places and then I just hopefully it all comes together on the day. The only sparring I do and the only hard work I do is MMA training as one movement. So we do different situations of MMA training, and there's not enough of that going on out there at the moment. But that AKA gym was good. I only went there the last day, and that is probably the best gym I've ever seen in my life. Like actual equipment-wise and facilities, it was mad. You know, it was completely mad. But coaching-wise, I can't say there. I trained at Phuket for a little bit, at Phuket top team. And
how was that? How was Phuket? Because that's what you said there about it being mainly Muay Thai based did surprise me, because I thought Phuket top team was mainly sort of MMA based.
No, they're all Tiger Muay Thai, all of them. It's all about 70% Muay Thai, and then everything else works around it. That's the general vibe that I got. You know what I mean? I didn't do enough training to be full part of a whole camp out there to see what it's really like, but the little touches of it that I got is, you know, the other people like to do things their own way. You know what I mean? For me personally, the way I've trained under Dean, it's just not the way I like to do things. I like to take my time. I like to learn. I like to have what we call a traffic light system. So, you know, some hard days, some medium days, some just technical days. And there it's all about waking up, hard Muay Thai in the morning, or hard grappling, the hard pads, the hard sparring later on. Everything's hard. They've still got that Muay Thai mentality of hard all the time. Yeah. And that's not how I like to do things. But I did enjoy it, don't get me wrong. Some great coaches out there, great people. I loved it when everyone that I met at Phuket Top Team, the last day at AK, a bunch of great people. Just for me personally, it's not where I'd want to do an MMA camp.
But you would go again?
Oh, definitely. I would go there tomorrow if I had the money. I tell you what, being out there in Thailand, it was just really centering, calming, relaxing. I just felt like I wasn't even thinking that much when I was out there. I was just completely like present the whole time I was out there, and just having a great time with my girlfriend. I mean, she puts up with a lot of shit as well. She has to. Do you know what I mean?
I saw her in the gym with you.
She's a fighter as well.
Oh, she is.
She understands what we're doing. You know what I mean? So it's good for her to have the rest as well. She does Thai boxing. So she loves it in Thailand.
So it was valuable for her then, yeah.
Yeah, she loves it. You know what I mean? She's a beast. She's up for any training she can get. She loves Muay Thai through and through. She's not like quit a job, nothing like me, but she's like works full time. She trains full time, and she loves it. She's workhorse. She's motivating for me.
I've asked a few people this when I've been in Thailand, and I've asked Mike Swick when I've interviewed him. What are your thoughts on MMA in Thailand? Do you think they currently don't like it? It's not actually illegal. There's a lot of rumours going around that the cage is illegal. It's not illegal at all. It's just that the government don't really like putting on MMA shows in fear of it taking over Muay Thai. Do you think that we could ever see something like a UFC go to Bangkok or something?
I don't know. I think they love their Muay Thai too much. It's like a religion out there. I swear to God, they love it, and I loved that. That's why I loved it when I was out there. I was like, these people, they look after their fighters. They look up to them. You know what I mean? They understand that these people are doing something that's, you know, everyone can do a sport and work hard. Fighting takes a little bit something different. Combat takes something a little bit different, whether that's boxing, Muay Thai, Taekwondo, MMA, I mean, just jiu-jitsu matches, whatever it is, it takes a little bit something different. And I think they understand that when they're out there, and they really look after their fighters and look up to them. And it was a humbling experience. You know what I mean? Everyone's like, they're like a family out there in them gyms. They're all helping each other. You know what I mean? You only see that in a few gyms over here. In there, the smallest and the biggest gyms are all with each other.
Yeah.
It was great, man. Great to watch.
Just finishing off on time, you did get some new ink. What are the story behind your tattoos that you got in Thailand?
I think it's called Hanuman on the back. It's like a protection warrior. And then on my leg, it's like 2 tigers either side. To be honest, I don't know what that means. It just looked cool. But it's all done with bamboo sticks.
You had it bamboo?
Yeah, right next to Phuket Top 10 is a guy called Rip Bamboo. Proper sound guy. This is what I'm talking about, them people out there. You know what I mean, I got one tattoo of him. And that's it. We were friends. They took us out for meals. We went to their house one time. Like, they're just proper welcoming people. You know what I mean? Imagine you went down to London and got a tattoo and told him we want to go get something to eat with him afterwards. He'd look at you like you was nuts.
Absolutely. That's completely my thoughts.
Everyone's trying to be everyone's friend out there. Not just because you've got the money. Even when you've got the money, they're still just everyone's being friends out there. And it was good, man. I loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ed, thank you very much for your time. We're running out of time now, but thank you very much for your time. We hope that you can get to Dublin. Let's put a hashtag together. Get Ed off to Dublin. Get on to BAMMA. You're the champion now. There's no excuses, yeah?
Yeah, no, I'm going to message him now.
Please do. But yeah, thank you very much for your time, Ed, and best of luck in your return. We can't wait to see
Cool, dude. It's been fun as always.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't wait to see who you fight, whether it be Shea Walsh or not. We are
cool,
looking
man.
forward to it.
Alright, see you in a bit. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ed. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, Nick is here on the show. Nick, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's been a while, Jim.
It has. I'm gutted I missed that Father's Day episode, by the way.
I know. We got to stop mentioning my dad on this podcast because he's acting like a celebrity around the house, and it's not good.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, next Father's Day, we'll get my dad on. We can have like our dads can just do the podcast and see what they can come up with.
I'm sure that'd be extremely entertaining.
For sure. But yeah, Nick, looking back at MMA, so much has happened since we've last spoken, but we gotta look sort of recently. What did you think of the Fox card on Saturday, where we saw Dillashaw unify? Oh no, not unify. He'd already unified. Defend his belt against Renan Barão for the second time.
I thought it was another great card. I feel like how many events have we had in the past 2 weeks or so? There's been I feel like 6 events or something crazy.
So many.
Yeah, and I feel like once again it's another good card. You know, a lot of decisions early in the card and some controversial decisions as well. I didn't think Jim Miller won. I didn't think that Andrew Holbrook won, and there were some controversial decisions along the way. But a great main card, no controversy there in my opinion, and a really exciting card. There's been a lot of those recently.
I thought Dillashaw just looked even better, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's crazy too because when people are talking about. You go into that first fight, and Barão was such a heavy favorite that people are talking about Dillashaw it was the most impressive performance that he looked that good against Barão, but people were questioning whether it was a fluke, and obviously not. And he looked even better this time. You're right; it's incredible.
He did look even better. I do have to say though, and I might get a bit of backlash for this, but I don't think since TJ beat him, I don't think Renan Barão's the same fighter. I'll be interested to hear what your thoughts are on this, but. Was it Mitch Clark he fought after TJ?
Looking it up right now.
I'm sure Dale will be messaging me who it was, but I think it was Mitch Clark.
It is. Mitch Gagnon.
Mitch Gagnon. Mitch Clark's about 3 weight classes above. I should know that, to be fair, but Mitch Gagnon. He didn't look like the same fighter in that fight, I don't think. And I certainly think if you compare his performance on Saturday against TJ to the Renan Barão we saw maybe. Even look back to him fight Brad Pickett in Birmingham at UFC 138. That guy was just an absolute savage, The guy who fought Michael McDonald in London. Yeah, Michael McDonald put it on him. He hit him with some big shots, but Renan Barão still came back and got the win. I don't think it is the same Barão since he lost to TJ originally. I don't know why. I can't answer that question. But I'm not taking anything away from TJ. I'm just saying I don't think he's the same guy. TJ did beat Renan Barão at his best. He beat him the first time at his best. But this guy on Saturday, I don't think that this was the same Renan Barão as before. What are your thoughts?
I agree 100%. And you look at that fight against Mitch, and once again, I don't want to take anything away from Mitch either, but he's certainly not the same level, at least. I mean, like I said, I don't want to take anything away from him, but he's not the same level as a TJ or even like a Faber or a Michael McDonald. And Barao was only 1 minute short of going the distance with him. And if you talk about the Barao in Brazil, by the way, and if you talk about the Barao that fought Brad Pickett, he was a savage. He was terrifying. He'd come out aggressively and get all these quick finishes, and to go that long with a guy like Mitch, I don't think Barao in his prime would have taken that long to beat a guy like that. So yeah, he won that fight. He did get the finish against Mitch, but he certainly wasn't the same level fighter that we'd become accustomed to seeing. And the other thing too is in the first TJ Dillashaw fight, he got caught with that punch early. That kind of changed the whole landscape of the fight. This time it seemed like he had a good weight cut, he had a healthy weight cut. It seemed like he was in top form with all the preparation stuff, and TJ beat him even more easily. So yeah, once again, it doesn't take anything away from Dillashaw. Dillashaw is still a really good champion. He's undefeated, and I'm excited to see him fight and defend his belt even more and see how long of a run he can have. But actually, not undefeated. I apologize. But yeah, I don't think it's the same Barao as we've become accustomed to.
What's happened in your opinion?
Well, I think a lot of times, how long was he undefeated for? Look here, he lost his first fight and then
10 years.
Went, yeah, and 32 fights, or 33 actually. There's one no contest in the mix, but 33 fights after losing his first fight, he didn't lose a single fight. So I can't imagine. Obviously, I don't know exactly what his mindset is, but after being that dominant for that long, I got to think that losing must completely shake your confidence. I'm not saying that Barao can't get back, but also, like, how old is Barao right now? Do you know? 28. He's young, but we always talk about fight years, and Barao's had 37 fights, so he's only 28 years old, but 37 fights, and a lot of his fights have been wars. That's going to take your toll. So I'm not going to say that he's past his prime now, but he very well could be, and he's dealing with this mental struggle of dealing with losses for the first time, pretty much in his whole career.
Well, I think it's more that. I think it's more almost like his confidence has been knocked. I think after that long undefeated, he just feel like a savage, like no one can touch him. And then since he realised he's not untouchable, I think it changes. It changes the way. I mean, I'm only looking at it from my point of view. Now, this might not be an accurate way to look at it, but I've had times where I'm boxing, because I train boxing sort of for fitness and whatnot. I've done it for several years, and when I'm boxing, if I'm boxing well for a couple of weeks, I will get overly confident, and somebody will take me down a peg, and then I find it can change the way I box for several weeks after that. So I think if you look at that sort of analogy, I think it could be something like that personally.
Yeah, I do agree. And the interesting thing is going to be seeing if this is some sort of hang up with TJ Dillashaw. Still, that's really the only guy he's ever lost to. I don't count his first professional fight. I mean, that was ages ago. So really, the only guy he's ever lost to is TJ Dillashaw. So if it is a mental hang up, is it that he has his mental hang up against TJ, or are we going to see a lot of losses in the future because he's lost his confidence? Because some guys have those rivalries. There's certain guys that, whether it's a mental hang up or whether just stylistically the way they match up, whatever, there's certain guys who just kind of have other fighters' numbers. And it seems like TJ Dillashaw definitely has Barao's number. So I would love to see Barao fight someone new, kind of like a Mitch, but someone a little higher up the rankings, and see exactly how he does fare, and see if it is just a one-guy thing or if this is a kind of blanket confidence issue.
I'd like to see him fight the guy who knocked out Brad Pickett at UFC 189, Thomas Almeida.
Oh, absolutely. That fight would be incredible. Although, I mean, right now, just that's the first time I've heard that matchup. Like, right now, I'd easily pick Almeida. I think Almeida is streaking in a big way. I think he's going to go right to the title shot, to be honest. I don't think he's going to lose until he gets to the title shot.
I wouldn't pick Almeida just because I think he did get dropped by Pickett. Not that, actually, that's not taking anything on Pickett. Pickett can bang, but I just think you can't be making those mistakes against a good Barao. Do you know what I mean? Because you just won't. If he drops you in a similar way to Pickett, I think he'll just jump on your back before you could even think about getting up.
Well, that's true. Who did he do that against?
He did that against Pickett.
Was it Pickett?
Yeah. He dropped.
Yeah, immediately you see him shoot around and take back mount.
He dropped in with a knee and took his back like it was just going for a stroll.
Yeah, unbelievable. Either way, I mean, just the fact that we both disagreed on that usually tends to indicate that that's a pretty good matchup, so I would love to see that fight.
Yeah, absolutely. But in terms of Dillashaw, as I say, he looks amazing. His footwork's... it's just so unique. It's different to Cruz's footwork. Cruz.
Yeah, did you hear? I was gonna ask. Did you hear Cruz's comments on Dillashaw recently?
No, go ahead.
On MMA. I don't remember word for word what it was, but basically he kind of blasted Dillashaw and said that his footwork's not unique. It's basically paraphrasing here, but it's a kind of a knockoff version of Cruz's footwork. And Cruz was doing this years ago before anyone knew what it was, and now Dillashaw is coming through, and he's basically saying that Dillashaw is a knockoff version of him, and that he thinks that if he was around, he could easily beat him. And you know, I think when Cruz does come back, I feel like he will get that shot.
Yeah,
but,
and I think
it'll be really interesting.
I have to say, Cruz's footwork is better in my opinion.
I agree.
The reason I say is he seems to do everything with much more pace. Dillashaw's his foot was good, but he seems to be sort of at a slower pace. Whereas when you see Cruz, when Cruz came back, and I think people have forgot, when Cruz came back and fought Mitsugaki, he took him apart, completely. After 2 or 3 years out, completely took him apart, and it just showed me when Dominic comes back, I believe he will. No one can stand in his way.
Well, for me, that was one of the biggest letdowns of the whole injury situation with Cruz, because I missed him. He was gone for a number of years, and obviously he's a great fighter, and I missed him. But seeing that one little glimpse and that tease of him just looking phenomenal, looking like he could easily come in and take the belt from anybody in that division, and then getting injured again, that was almost worse. Just teasing me a little bit with remembering what he can do and what he can bring to that division, and then having him get pulled away again was almost worse. But he also said in that same interview that he's planning on coming back. He's hoping for the first card on the new year, or sometime at the very beginning of 2016. So let's hope that happens, because you talk about ring rust, but he looked absolutely outstanding after being out for that long. So I gotta imagine that he's still in top form.
Yeah, I don't know if a ring rust was a thing for him. I think he was just so keen to get back in the ring and do his thing that no one could get in his way.
Well, he too is not just a physical. He doesn't just bring the athletic aspect to the game. He's very athletic and has great endurance and all that. But I think he's one of the most intelligent fighters in the entire UFC. So for him, he's out for 3 years, and he might lose some of that practice of actually fighting in the cage. But he studies the game so hard that whole time he's hitting the books in a manner of speaking, and I don't think he really lost anything. I think he looked in top form.
While we're on sort of alpha male and Dillashaw, I want to ask you about Faber. And what are your thoughts on the whole Faber-McGregor thing, going right back to the scenario that the UFC put out there in the build-up to the McGregor-Mendez fight with them backstage? What are your whole thoughts on that situation?
Well, I will say, just quickly talking about that backstage video, I think when I watched it, I think I as well as a lot of other people that I saw on Twitter, thought it looked staged and fake and a little sketchy, but then I heard Faber explaining it, and I guess it's like there's one bathroom back there, and all the guys use the bathroom, and it was before weight cuts, before the weigh-ins. McGregor's not going to agree to some staged video thing right before he weighs in. That's like a very stressful time. So I don't think it was staged. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I feel like it's tough because lately, Faber, who's always been one of the UFC's biggest stars, he's kind of he's in this weird limbo where I don't really know where he stands. He's not gonna fight TJ, I don't think, and maybe at some point if the money's right, but he hasn't really expressed interest in wanting to fight TJ. So the weight class that he's currently in is kind of blocked up as far as him going for another title. He can move back up to featherweight. He fought there for a long time, but I don't know how. I don't know. I don't see. I feel like he's kind of just wavering in the wind. And I don't know how that's going to work. But and as far as him and McGregor coaching against each other, I'm just kind of burned out on the Ultimate Fighter in general. I think a lot of people are. I did like the new team versus team thing, and it'll be interesting to have. Is it all UK fighters versus all Americans, or how's that working?
I'm not too sure. Good point.
I think I remember hearing that McGregor's going to coach 8. I don't think it's Irish fighters. I think it's 8 fighters just from the UK, and then Faber's coaching 8 Americans. I think, but I don't know. I vaguely remember reading that in an article somewhere. I don't know if that's true or not. But it'll be interesting. I don't know. I like just the the film crews at the Ultimate Fighter house and having them.
It's
Team Europe, right?
Yeah, Team Europe versus Team USA, which I think is going to be fantastic. To be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a cool thing, but the having the camera crews there, and I'm sure there'll be some scuffles in the house between McGregor and Faber. Like for me, that doesn't get me excited. That reminds me of like watching like the Real Housewives or something. I'm not into the reality show aspect of the Ultimate Fighter anymore.
I don't know. I think Conor McGregor's going to... he's really going to bring something new to the Ultimate Fighter.
He's definitely one of the most dynamic personalities that the UFC's had in a long time. So if someone can, it is him. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I just think that, first of all, the Ultimate Fighter can really show... I mean, like, in terms of... The only thing that I can think of off the top of my head is a fighter who I really began to like after the Ultimate Fighter was Mayhem Miller. Just because he showed his character. And I think that the Ultimate Fighter really brings out the character in people. When Conor McGregor's on that show, whose character already shines through the media, etc., I just think the ratings are going to go through the roof.
Well, what it could be, too, is I remember when Chael Sonnen coached against John Jones, I thought that was one of the better seasons in a long time, and it's because Chael Sonnen was this trash talker type guy, but then when you're filming someone for the entire time they're in the Ultimate Fighter house, you see like the more human side of it, too. And we see some of that with McGregor, and I think that's important for him to... personally, I like when... Because like, I think right now McGregor's playing the villain role, he's trash talking everybody. Obviously, he has all his fans behind him, but... he's still playing the villain role. He's kind of the bad boy of the division, whatever. But when you get him in situations like this, you're going to see his other side too. Which, I mean, if you follow his career enough, you see that it's not to say it's an act, because I think he believes in everything he says, but it's also, he does have this more human, not trash talking, whatever side. And I think we're going to see a lot of that in the Ultimate Fighter, which could be good.
I think you're right, and I'm interested to see that. I'm interested to see that other side to McGregor. I mean, you see it a little bit on his reality show, The Notorious, but right. I'm interested to see, how he is because he's always this cocky, brash fighter. I'm interested to see how he is to these up and coming fighters. These guys on the Ultimate Fighter, because he's always the first person to criticise people's movements, etc. So I'll be interested to see how he's going to coach and how he's going to react if he is on the losing side, because he doesn't like losing, as we know. So it'd be interesting to see him on a team, how he deals with losses on his team.
Absolutely.
But it's one I'm looking forward to. Probably the most I've ever looked forward to any Ultimate Fighter. I didn't actually. I thought I was going to watch the Ultimate Fighter because I have a sort of similar opinion to you that the Ultimate Fighter is sort of a bit like old hat to me, but the ATT versus the Black Zillions one, I was like, yeah, I'm going to watch that, but I ended up not watching it. But the McGregor one, I'm not missing for the world, I guarantee you that.
Right, I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, or if Dale's listening in, if he can help, but is it on just Fight Pass, or is it going to be televised like a regular season Ultimate Fighter?
Well, it's an interesting one because I think that it needs to be. First of all, they need to do a deal in Ireland, and they need to do. I'm sure it will be on BT Sport. Yeah, it's going to be on. It's going to be on TV in the UK, most likely BT Sport. But in Ireland, they definitely won't go with our deal in Ireland. That's where the viewers are going to come from. And,
okay, yeah, I figured.
It's going to be on Fox in the US as well.
Right? Yeah, because they, in the past when they've been doing these Ultimate Fighters where it's these kind of tough nations or whatever, a lot of times, sometimes they'll be on TV, but a lot of times they've just been on Fight Pass recently. So, but yeah, this is obviously a little different. And even Faber, we talk so much about McGregor going into this. Faber's still one of the UFC's biggest stars. There's a lot of guys who, especially guys who used to be into the MMA, kind of the old school days, Faber kind of breaks into that whole demographic too. So it'll be interesting to see both those guys. I think you're right. I think the ratings will be great. I just hope the show matches them.
Yeah, absolutely, because it could be a show full of boring fights.
Exactly. You can't predict that. And, when we had Chris Fields coming on, he said it's such a crazy atmosphere trying to fight that even if these are good fighters, you might not get the best quality fights out of them just because of the kind of wild atmosphere of being in the house and having to cut weight. And it's a very weird atmosphere. So sometimes, even if there's a good crop of fighters, it doesn't necessarily mean the fights are going to be good. Absolutely.
But yeah, I can't wait for that. But moving on slightly, looking forward, we've got... But actually, you know what? I am going to ask you about McGregor because we haven't spoke about it. 189, how did you feel during that event?
I think, well, first of all, I don't know if I wrote an article about this or just like screamed it in my living room, but I think that was the greatest UFC event of all time. I really think it was. It delivered in such a big way, so much hype going into it, and it was amazing. From that Matt Brown prelim headliner, and then all the main card fights, it had to have been one of the most exciting. Just everything came together in a big way, and it was an amazing amazing card. Speaking of McGregor specifically, I think he looked outstanding. I mean, a lot of people they'll look at that situation and they'll say, "Look how easily he got taken down." Chad Mendes is one of the top pound for pound wrestlers in the entire in the world. I think he's one of the top pound for pound wrestlers in the world. He's going to take anyone down. I don't think anyone can defend every one of his takedowns. McGregor got taken down fairly easily, I guess, but he was active in the bottom, and he still got a knockout within 2 rounds. I think Chad Mendes is a championship caliber guy. I think he was a tougher matchup than Aldo was stylistically. And given all that, and given the fact that McGregor never trained wrestling until that first round because he was dealing with a knee injury, and he was expecting to face Aldo, all that stuff together, and he still got the knockout in less than 2 rounds. I mean, I don't know how much more dominant you can be, and I think for me that answered pretty much every question that was left from McGregor.
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole thing brought out after the fight, that McGregor never fought, never trained wrestling due to injury, etc. Do you buy into that?
I do, just because it came from Kavanaugh, and I don't think Kavanaugh would have, in my experience, seems like a pretty honest guy. I don't think he really does a lot of politicking in his answers to questions. I do buy. I mean, first of all, the guy's trained wrestling his whole career, I'm sure. That's a big aspect of MMA. I'm sure he's trained wrestling. Just specifically in this camp leading up to it, I doubt he expected Pettis to do a lot of wrestling, although Pettis does have a solid jiu-jitsu game. I'm sure he trained some takedowns, but I doubt he really expected... no, did I say Pettis? Aldo.
You said Pettis, yeah.
I doubt Aldo. I doubt he trained that much wrestling for Aldo. He's probably more worried about the striking game. And Chad Mendes didn't come into the last minute, so I believe that he didn't really focus on wrestling up to that point. And if they were worried about his knee, they might have just relied on just the wrestling training he's done throughout his career. But then also, it's not. There's specific discipline training, but just because he didn't do wrestling training doesn't mean that he didn't get on his back and work on his guard and his stuff. Like, it's not like it's like a one-dimensional thing. So maybe they didn't train takedown defense specifically or something like that, but he did train other aspects of what could happen. Mendes took him down, and I'm sure McGregor had trained leading up to that fight. He trained fighting off his back, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that... I mean, look for the Aldo fight. How big do you think that's going to be, and how do you think it plays out?
Well, first of all, I think the fact that 189 was as big as it was really is a testament. Obviously, Aldo versus McGregor was huge, but that made it pretty clear to me that you plug in Mendes, who, look at what Mendes versus Aldo did in their last pay-per-view. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it was nowhere near the numbers of 189. And I think they proved that it's not really McGregor versus Aldo that was the big draw. It's just McGregor. So obviously now that McGregor is even bigger coming off this UFC 189, coming off the fact that it's going to be a title unification bout, and Aldo will give it a little bit of a bump because he is a bigger name than Chad Mendes, but it's really the McGregor show, and I think McGregor is the person that's bringing in these numbers. But yeah, I absolutely can't wait. Especially, the UFC is going to throw a ton of pageantry into it. Maybe they'll do it in the stadium in the United States. They talked about Cowboy Stadium. They've been talking about the right fight, the right time to fill out that stadium. And honestly, I think McGregor versus Aldo is it. So I really hope they can work that out, because that atmosphere would be absolutely insane.
Yeah. When are they on about doing that fight? Sorry.
I can't remember. It's either the end of this year or is it this fall?
I believe, yeah, it's before the end of this year, I believe.
I mean, Aldo's injury, he'll be healed up. I think they said October, and then McGregor, I don't think had any long suspension after he fought Mendes. So I think, and I'm sure the UFC wants to put it on as soon as possible. I'm sure McGregor wants to fight as soon as possible, just based on their attitudes throughout their career. So I'm pretty sure whenever Aldo is ready, they're going to put that fight up as soon as possible and hopefully make it in a stadium show.
Yeah, I hope so. And then maybe the defense in that Croke Park, which McGregor keeps going on about.
Yeah, they talk about the complications with fighting in Croke Park, but it seems like the UFC's kind of into the whole idea of doing the impossible, and it seems like, I think, as long as McGregor doesn't have some huge fall off where he loses like a bunch in a row, as long as the hype is still behind McGregor, I think they'll make that show happen at some point.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, moving forward again, we've got UFC 190 coming up this weekend. Anything you're looking forward to? Obviously, we're always looking forward to a Ronda Rousey fight. She's looking like she's looking like Cyborg. She's got Cyborg's arms right now, Rousey. So, are you any other fights you're looking forward to? Or is it just mainly the Rousey fight, Nick?
Well, hang on a sec. My computer is messing up. All right. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to Rousey. She's always exciting to watch. Although I gotta admit, I think Bethe Correia is good, and she has that the confidence of being undefeated and all that. But it's hard to get that excited for Rousey fights now because it's going to be extremely dominant. The only way a Rousey fight at the end of it becomes even noteworthy, because if she just dominates, she just beats Bethe Correia in 15 seconds or something, then it's just like, well, all right, I guess that's another Rousey fight in the books, whatever. But the only way it makes it noteworthy is if the challenger at some point pushed her to that level. The only person to do that so far is Miesha Tate, who just won in Fox, so that fight is going to be coming up if Rousey wins. But I don't see this one going much different. I think Rousey's going to dominate once again. And you had the whole leveling where it's personal for her now because of some of the comments that Bethe has made about her father's suicide and things like that. So I think we're going to see a very scary Rousey.
I think the weigh-ins is going to be intense.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be... you've seen Rousey's... The other thing, too, people talk about whether fighters are emotional beforehand or indifferent. Rousey's done it all. She obviously has very strong feelings towards Miesha Tate, and then she'll fight like a Liz Carmouche where there's really no beef there at all, and she just dominates everybody. So I don't think it makes a difference. She's a machine.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a first-round finish again. I think she's going to look even more impressive than she's ever looked, and that's saying something.
Yeah, so I'm almost curious. Even if you could script it, it's hard to find ways for her to look more impressive. But yeah, I think you might be right.
Yeah. But any other fights on that card you're looking forward to?
There's a lot of Brazilian legends on that card. You got Big Noggin, Little Nog.
It's not the best card for a UFC 190.
I agree. For a pay-per-view, I agree 100%. One of the fights I actually am looking forward to a lot, which is on the prelims, is Damian Maia versus Neil Magny. Neil Magny has looked outstanding. I feel like somehow he's still flying under the radar, which is crazy. I think the last time he fought, we were podcasting and we talked about he's flying under the radar. He fought Hyun-Gyu Lim and knocked him out in 2 rounds, and yet again he's going under the radar. Not in the UFC's eyes because they're putting him as a prelim headline. That's been kind of a coveted spot recently. But I still think he's flying under the radar. I think he's an outstanding fighter. He's looking better than he's ever looked before, and I'm really excited to see him take on Damian Maia, who's also won his last 2 in a row, and I think that's going to be a really good test for Magny to see if he kind of is up to that title contender level.
I agree. I actually would like Maia to win that fight because I think if he does, then it sets up a perfect main event for Dublin, which is Gunnar Nelson versus Damian Maia.
Oh, that would be an outstanding grappling match. I would love to watch that.
I think that's what it sets up, and I hope that he wins. I know we're supposed to be biased, but I do hope that he wins just for that, really.
Well, I mean, you look at Maia's last loss was Rory McDonald, who just fought for the title. So it's okay to lose to Rory McDonald. He lost by decision. I remember that was actually a really fun fight. So here he got fight of the night, and then he lost to Jake Shields before that. Jake Shields has beaten a ton of big names in the UFC.
Surprisingly, Jake Shields really showed himself. Doing that, Jake Shields really showed what he can do.
Yeah, and I think it was more of a testament to what Jake Shields can do and less of a knock on Maia. And those are his 2 losses in the past since 2012. And otherwise, he's won 5, beat some tough guys. I think if he beats a Neil Magny, even though Magny might not have the household name type status yet, he's extremely hot right now. Maia beating Magny would be a huge win for Maia. And then same thing with Magny. Magny beating Maia would be a huge win. So either way, I think it's an important fight for both guys. I think we're going to see a lot of really good MMA, both on the ground and stand-up, and I think it's going to be a really fun fight. I think that's honestly the second best fight on the pay-per-view. So people who are kind of on the fence about buying the pay-per-view, I definitely would encourage you at least tune in for free TV for that fight.
Yeah, absolutely. One I can't wait. But talking of Dublin, you are coming. You're coming from the States to the UFC event in Dublin in October. How much looking forward to that fight, to that card are you? and the weekend that it will be for you.
Well, yeah, I can't wait. Me personally, this has been a goal of mine for a while. Before I ever joined MMA Mad, I was doing my own blog, and I remember thinking, how cool would it be to get UFC press creds? And you and Dale have been getting these press creds pretty regularly for all European events. But right now, I can't just afford to fly over to Europe. Every single time there's an event in Europe, I don't have that kind of bankroll. So this is my one time. You know, the way the Irish MMA scene has been. It just kind of works out timing-wise, and I think it's going to be an amazing event. I'll finally check that off the bucket list. I'll finally get my UFC press creds. A couple weeks ago, I went to Bellator and got Bellator press creds, and it's all right. It's just not the same. You know, the UFC, there's something special about those 3 letters, even production, all that stuff. So I can't wait to have the full meet and stay cage side of the UFC event.
Yeah, I mean, you coming from Boston? Is that the airport you fly from?
Yeah, Boston. So that's about an hour and a half drive from me. I have some friends that live in Boston, so I'll probably head up after work that day. I'm flying out Tuesday, head up after work, grab some dinner with my friends, fly out of Boston. I'll get in Dublin, I believe, at 8 a.m. on Wednesday. There's a 5-hour time difference, 6-hour flight. So I'm thinking if I can sleep for a little bit on the plane, I'll wake up at 8 a.m. It'll just feel like the morning. Hopefully my body just adjusts, and then I'll be there till Sunday covering all the UFC events. So, yeah, I can't wait. I think it's going to be a really good experience.
Yeah, it will be, and it's going to be. I think it's going to be something for you to see the Dublin crowd.
Well, that's the other thing too. I remember, last time they were in Dublin, McGregor was headlining that card. From the very first fight, that place was nuts. And I think a lot of people I've heard a lot of comments about how the Dublin crowd, it wasn't that big of a venue or whatever, but still, it's a good sized venue. It seats more than Mohegan Sun at Connecticut, and that's the stadium that I was just at. And the crowd is just so loud, it's deafening in there. So yeah, I absolutely can't wait. This wasn't a coincidence. There's the Scotland card that just happened. The crowd was loud there too, and there's other UFC events that are in Europe, but it wasn't a coincidence that I chose Dublin. I chose Dublin to be the one that I do fly over for because it's just like the Irish MMA scene is unbelievable right now.
Absolutely. It's one I cannot wait for. But that brings an end to the show today. We've had thanks to Regis Sugden for coming on first, then Ed Arthur, telling us all about what his plans are and how his trip to Thailand was. And thank you, Nick, for coming back on. Good to finally talk to you after a while off. But yeah, we will be back. More guests. And maybe the return of Nick's dad. Who knows?
We got, like I said, Jim, we got to cool it on that because my dad, he's walking around the house. He tells me all the time. He's like, "Oh, I think you should have me on at the end of every episode. I'll do a 10-minute Nick's dad segment." And I was like, "Dad, you got to relax. It's going straight to his head. He can't handle the celebrity."
Well, I'm okay with that.
I'll make sure he never hears this podcast then because he will not leave me alone.
For sure. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Listen next time we're about. Subscribe on iTunes. Check out the website www.mmamad.com. Follow us on Twitter at MMA Mad Official. Facebook.com/MMA Mad Official. I've been Jim Carroll.
I've been Nick Risner. Sorry, I missed the cue there, Jim.
Yeah, you didn't pick up on it, did you?
It's been a while. We have no chemistry. Ring rust.
Thanks, guys.
All right, take care, guys.